This is Tech Gears. My name is Levi, and today we are out here because I wanted to see specifically what is the quality difference when you're using either Super 35 mode versus 4K, and specifically Clear Image Zoom. So today we're actually testing it out in part one. We're going to be using this right here or this one. I have the A7C here to use 1080p. Right now I'm shooting on the ZVE1, which does shoot oversampled 1080p. So the quality is a little bit better. So I'm probably going to use it on this one. Now on the ZVE1 in 1080p, that does give you full 2x crop in Clear Image Zoom. So you're getting the equivalent on a simple 16 to 35, which is what we're shooting here, to go all the way up into one crop mode, which is 52.5 in Super 35, and then 2x in Clear Image Zoom, giving us a 105 millimeter equivalent. So we're actually going to look at those focal ranges, and then we're going to compare them to an actual 24 to 105. How does it actually look when you have the real focal range? So we are out here in the Chicago wilderness, have a park. I actually have a little setup there, so you're going to see that. Let's see if I can zoom in. So we're actually going to do a breakdown. This is part one. Right now we're going to look at 1080. So this whole video will be in 1080. The next whole video will be in 4K. Hopefully this video helps you out. You can see some of the quality differences. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, the compression might not be the best. It's starting to rain here, so I'm actually going to start putting my stuff away. But hopefully this helps you guys out. We'll look at the results and get back to you in the studio. All right, so we're back in the studio here, and we're just going to start taking a look at some of these images. Let's start off with just the full 35 millimeter. 35 millimeter in 1080p. Looks solid. I'm using the ZVE1, so it is oversampled. All right, we're jumping in here to 52.5 millimeters using Super 35 mode. One thing I will point out, some cameras like the A7CR and the A7R5 actually have better video quality once you crop in. The Super 35 mode is oversampled in 1080p. Most of the other cameras oversample in 4K. ZVE1, or on the other hand, only oversamples in 1080p. I don't think it's doing an additional when you crop in. So let's take a look here. But the 52 still looks pretty decent. I think there's a slight loss in quality here. All right, so now we're looking at 52 millimeters full frame, and we are using the 24 to 105 and just going to that equivalent focal range. So if I'm off by a millimeter or two, you'll see it here. Obviously, whenever you're using the actual focal range, I think it looks better. Once we compare the two, honestly, yeah, it's pretty close. But the actual focal range in 52 millimeters is going to be a bit better. Definitely more background separation and bokeh. So obviously you're going to have more compression using the actual focal range than cropping in or Clear Image Zoom. But actual quality wise, I would say fairly close. I don't think I would be remiss using one or the other. All right, next we're looking at 70 millimeters. And this is using 35 millimeters cropped in 2x with Clear Image Zoom only. Still looks okay. Obviously, I think we're losing some quality here versus a regular 70 millimeters. And yeah, absolutely. If we look at the full 70 millimeters, I think it's way sharper. So as much as I like Clear Image Zoom and it is helpful and it doesn't lose that much quality versus actually having the right glass for what you're shooting, yeah, wow. So again, this is 1080p. I'm excited to see what we get in 4K. So just looking at these two, this is 35 millimeters at full 2x Clear Image Zoom from 1080p versus just 70 millimeters and way clearer than the 70 millimeters. All right, so this is going to be our max reach using our 16 to 35. We're using 2x Clear Image Zoom as well as a Super 35, giving us an equivalent of 105 millimeters of reach, which is awesome. This is a lot of reach for such a small lens that starts at 16 millimeters. And honestly, if you're just looking at this straight away, it looks fine. This is a good image that you're going to be okay using. It is not the sharpest, but at the same time, between compression and other, posting on YouTube, or if you're streaming it, I think it's still going to be good enough. Now, just for example, we are looking at 52 millimeters jumped in with 2 times clear image zoom, and we'll compare those two in a second. Again, looks a little bit better because we're at a better focal range. Finally, we're shooting in a 70 millimeter with just the Super 35, giving us 105 millimeter focal length. And I think there is a clear jump up in clarity and sharpness. And at the end of it, obviously we have 105 millimeters at f4 using the 24-105. Way sharper image. It looks like we're using a different camera. Definitely looks like a different lens. And this is a much sharper image overall. When I hit pause here, you could see the detail just come through. Tons of bokeh. A lot of people who are used to using, say, 24-70 2.8, you absolutely get fairly close bokeh, if not maybe better, using 105, even though you're at f4, as far as getting that background separation. So now let's start comparing a lot of these. We're going to compare the best with the worst, and that's tough. That's a big jump. So we're looking at a full 105, and then we're looking at 105 equivalent using the Super 35 and the Clear Image Zoom. So really far apart. So pretty drastic. All right, so now we're using just the Clear Image Zoom. We're not using Super 35. Not much of a difference whether I would say it's better or worse. You're both seeing a drastic difference. Now this is cropped in 200%, so you're definitely seeing the difference in clarity here by quite a bit. So next, let's look at just the Super 35 versus the Clear Image Zoom. So we're at 52 millimeters using Clear Image Zoom, and we're at 70 millimeters using Super 35. So we're both at approximately 105 millimeters. Super 35 does look much clearer. Clear Image Zoom is, again, losing it when you're looking at something this tight. All right, next we're actually looking at a full image. So we're not zooming in. This is just 100%, and we're at 105 millimeters with 105 on the left from the 24-105, and on the right we're using that max reach that you get from a 16-35. And again, from this image, when we're not cropped in all the way, I would say it's usable. It's definitely a decent image. Like, I'm not mad at it as far as, man, I can't use this. Like, no, if you do need the reach, it is fun to have. And if you're shooting an event, if you're shooting people, sometimes you don't want that super sharp clarity. People don't look perfect. They have scars and pimples, and the hair is messed up, and it's okay if it's not like crystal clear. So this is a little better, but obviously I'm not going to argue that the 105 is much sharper. All right, and I just wanted to show the difference from 35 millimeters, all right, and then how much reach we're jumping in to zoom into 105. So yes, you're losing some quality, but so you can see that huge reach advantage. And this is not about getting the perfect quality. This is about being able to have a lens like the 16-35, and you're getting, at least in video, okay, this is not photography, you're getting a 16-105 when you need it out of a very simple lens with Sony's super easy to use Clear Image Zoom system, as well as just using their Super 35, being able to map the buttons, and especially in the ZV-E1 where you literally have a zoom rocker. So compared to any other camera brands, I think Sony makes using those modes very simple, which is why it's so enjoyable. As well as, if you're wondering why are you using the 16-35 if you really want the reach, use the 24-105. It's really about just what you're shooting. If you want to keep things light and small, having the option to use the 16-35 and have that reach is fantastic. But if you're using the 24-105, it is probably twice the size of a lens, but it also has image stabilization, or OSS, in the lens itself. So awesome lens to have, and works super well with the Sony bodies, especially the newer ones like the A7R5 or A9 III, where those match together, give some amazing results. Now, regarding this test, in 1080p, I wasn't expecting as much of a loss in quality, but there's definitely a loss there. Now, like I said, I think it's still very usable, but you're definitely using some definition. I think in 4K, the results should be better. Stick around for part 2. We'll definitely find out. Now, regarding shooting 1080p and using that, even today in 2024, I think Sony has some of the best 1080p footage you can get out of a new camera. Most manufacturers focus on their 4K, and rightfully they should. Sony's 4K, I think, looks incredible as well, especially when they're downsampled from 6K, 7K like I do in some of their cameras. So we're going to shoot 4K for the next example and really see the quality and how much we're losing here. 1080, you saw the footage for yourself. Go back, press pause, watch this on a large screen, see what you guys think. For me, I know if I need the best quality, I'm going to be bringing the right lens. But if it is personal, if it is fun, if it is just for family, I know I can comfortably use some of the smaller lenses and still get the reach I want. Hopefully this has helped you guys out, and this is eye-opening for you as well as it was for me. This is Levi with Tech Ears, and I'll come at you later.